My name is Catherine Mungai. I work for the International Union for Conservation of Nature, and I'm implementing the BIODEV2030 project, focusing on integrating biodiversity issues into economic development. And today we are visiting one of our partners' restoration sites, and I would like to invite them to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit more about their organization.
Good afternoon. I'm Fridah Makau. I work for Justdiggit, and we are doing restoration work at Kuku Group Ranch with our partner Maasai Wilderness Conservation Trust through the Twende project, which is funded by Green Climate Fund. And basically here what we are doing, we are digging bunds. We are going to dig over 26,000 bunds that will be used to bring back good grass in this area, which has over time disappeared. And this will be done through reseeding the bunds and covering them with thorny branches to ensure that mostly the zebras and giraffes in this area do not graze on the grass before it is mature enough to continue healing the place.
I'm Timothy Lenayia. I work for Maasai Wilderness Conservation Trust, Conservation Department. I'm in charge of this restoration work where we are doing bunds digging in this place called Loromeuti. Loromeuti in Maasai is the weather name for giraffes. Initially, this was an area that was filled with giraffes, but because of human activities, they have tend to run away. But now we are restoring this area by digging the bunds that we are doing.
And these bunds are actually a very, very interesting concept and a novel idea, because I don't think it's something that we've seen happening in many parts of the country and even perhaps outside of the country. But maybe you can enlighten us how the idea of the bunds actually came about. And apart from here where we are today, where else are we having similar activities taking place?
Bunds came up with a researcher, a doctor, over 10 years ago, who came to do his research in Amboseli and Kuku Group Ranch. And they were very sustainable. And that's when our own Sander from Justdiggit improved them from then, which were a bit smaller, to now the bunds that we are doing is Justdiggit. And they have proved effective in restoration. And we also combine them with other techniques such as fanyas, fanya juu, fanya chini, and stone lines. Yeah, so it's a diverse method of ensuring restoration is happening. So depending on the topography of the ground, that's when we decide whether a place deserves to have bunds or just be left to rest or something like that. Yeah.
And what is the size of the bunds?
A bund looks like a semicircle or a half moon. We love to call them earth smiles. So from above with the drone, you would see them like smiles on the ground. They are 6 meters in length and a diameter of 3 meters. And in depth, they are around 45 or knee length depth at the curvy side, which we call the stomach. So it has to be deeper to ensure that there is enough water, and also it allows for percolation because already the ground has a hard pan. So that's why we do the digging, to break this hard pan and to ensure there's infiltration when it rains. Yeah, and hence growth, and also to reduce soil erosion and service runoff, the things that we are trying to heal also gullies. Yeah.
What has been the impact of the bunds on the community?
It has actually have immense impact to the community. One, economically, but if I can just start from when we started. This was a very hard concept to put to the community, especially now that people think once an area like this is restored, it's taken. So we started because this was an idea that was brought to us by our good partners, Justdiggit. And we had a lot of community engagement first to make them understand the real work and what are the benefits and the long-term impact to the lands and also to their daily lives. And one of the big impact is the benefits that they get from first is when they are digging, they are paid on daily basis on this work, and this helps them improve their livelihoods by paying school fees for their kids. They get food, and even some of them, most of the women here build houses out of the work that they are doing here. And even to an extent of when we started our last project here at Enki, because here and Enki are not, they're more or less not far places. Most of the women were using, how do we call for a boy? The candles, which were health-wise not good. But because when we started this, they came up with solar bulbs, things that help them improve their light system in their homes. And apart from that, we have also seen grass that are coming up, and this is a very big benefit to the community here, because the community here are livestock keepers, and once you have good grass, then you have very good cows that are very fat with a lot of milk. And at the end, if you sell one cow, because of how it's fed out of the grass that we got here, you get a lot of money. That economically, it has improved the livelihood of the people around here. When you talk about, when we also, there are also other benefits, ecological benefits, talk of how this area were, or how this area is. For example, you can see how this area is very, very degraded, very dry. There are no grasses. And where there are no grasses, then there are no livestock. Because now there is nothing that the livestock can feed on. But because of the initiative that is done here, the grass comes up because we dig this bunds, and then we sow, and then grass comes up. And once you have grass, then you have helped in cooling down that particular area. Actually, when they told us we are creating like microclimates, the more vegetation you have, the more you attract more rainfall. And this has actually been a case because of the many projects that we have seen in Kuku. So I think this is a 7 or 8 project with a lot of numbers of bunds. And since these bunds were done, there's a lot of benefit that we have even seen from even the rains. There have been a lot of rains in where we are doing this over time. So it has helped also in reducing soil erosion and water runoff. Initially, in places where there were no these bunds, down there they will feel a lot of water is coming, and even sometimes even becoming a challenge for children to go to schools because they can't cross these lagers. But now, because of controlling this water from the up level, so we also control the amount of water that goes down there. So that's also another big benefit. Again, wildlife is also coming up back slowly. With areas that we have already done this project, there are a lot of wildlife that has started coming in. And from our records in the office, because there's MWCT, we also always have rangers who go around. Even now we have a ranger who is going around. We always do wildlife sightings to determine how an area is becoming because of the work that has been done. And from our data, we have seen that there are a lot of wildlife that has come back because of the work that we are doing. Because we tell the community that this is an area that needs to stay for 2 years or even more for it to regain its natural suitability. And when an area is left, wildlife will come back. And we have seen that, and we can attest that it's working.
But I can imagine this work has not happened without any challenges. So what are some of the challenges that you have experienced? And if you found some solutions to those challenges, you can also let us know.
Some of the challenges, one is letting the community believe on what you do. It was really a very hard challenge to tell an old Muse like the one with the white shirt here, telling him that grass can be sowed and grow. Like this was an initiative they think this can only happen in maize, in beans, but in grass, apana, that is God's work. So we had a lot of time trying to explain to them that this is an initiative that can work. Again, as I said before, this was a very hard task. Try to have your community support, because they believe that once you restore an area, that is already a conservancy, and say, okay, this area has been taken out of them. So for them to put them to that line of believing you that this is an area that will be restored and then giving them back for their own benefit was very hard for us at the start of this project. But as time goes, we have been doing very, very well. Actually, in most areas now in Puku, they are now coming to us every now and then and say, guys, we have an area which is like this. Even this area is a community which came to us, and then we came here with Fridah and her colleagues, and seen the area that yes, it's doable here. The months are doable here. Yeah, so those are just little bit challenges. A little bit other very small ones that sometimes in all communities, you cannot be 100% like, the whole community is yes for what you are doing. Some people will say, apana, you guys have been cheated. I think these guys are cheating you. So they will not sometimes respect. A few of them maybe give 5 to 10%. They'll say, apana, we are going to pass there and see what will happen. It's a challenge. So that's why we have rangers when we start this project. But with those people, we have the grazing committee who deal with them, because there are rules and regulations that has been designed by this community to protect their own land. Because even without this project, or even before this project, there are already grazing committees. So the grazing committees goes to those individuals and tells them, guys, we had this regulation to say this and this and this, and it's us, the community, who decided that this intervention should go on. It's not MWCT, it's not Justdiggit, it's not IUCN, it's not Trend or anything. It is us as a community. So they help us curb those small problems. Sorry. Yeah.
And now that you've mentioned the grazing committee, and gender issues are very critical.
Absolutely.
So would you maybe tell us the composition of the grazing committees, and also the role of the women and the youth apart from being part of the committee, but also in such an activity that we are seeing here today? How do you ensure that they're involved, and what is their contribution?
Our culture is somehow funny in a way, if I can put it in that way, because in these particular projects, most of the people who are doing work here are women and youth. Even you can attest by walking all around, you can see there are very few men like the one you saw with the white knee or the shuka, very few of them. And the reason being is the grazing committee that puts those strategies, because now most of the youth don't have jobs. And again, women own nothing. Yeah, because for us, a man owns everything, and a woman has no right for anything. So he's given also to go and find something for herself here, and same applies to the youth.
Mm-hmm.
So in all our projects that we are doing with our partners, Justdiggit, we involve more women and youth.
So I think for Fridah, I would want to ask maybe if you know how the work that we do on the ground here informs policy processes. Because at the end of the day, we also have to address policy issues, whether at the county level, local level, or even at the national level. So does your work at Justdiggit get to inform policy processes? If yes, how?
I would say yes, because we engage the counties. We participate in the steering committees, the CSG, especially for the Kajiado County. And most of the chief officers and also people who work in the county, in the environment and all that, are members of these communities. And they are supportive in terms of this restoration work. And so they are also on their level pushing for better policies in terms of regulations, such as things to do with charcoal burning and also things to do with basically tree cutting, which has been a very controversial topic. And so we are always supportive of ensuring that we are at par with what is happening in the counties, because we believe that the government will be the most sustainable way of ensuring the planet gets better. Yeah.
Actually, I think even now that you've talked about ensuring the planet gets better, this year on 22nd of May, we'll be having the International Day of Biodiversity. And the interesting thing is that actually the theme of this year is linking to the Sustainable Development Goals. So if you have a message to the community today, or to the government, or to the donor, what would be your message?
My message will be very simple, that we just stay united. This is not an individual work. This is not one organization's work. And the passion, the movement for us, Justdiggit, we like to call us our movement, a regreening movement, is for everyone, and everyone has a part to play. So let's all play our part to ensure that we have a greener planet for ourselves and our future generations.
My message is to work to try work in innovation that are well sustainable to our ecosystems, and work well with our communities so that we all together in making sure that we are successful in making our planet green.
For me, mine would be, we think global but act local. And based on what we have seen here today, definitely anything we discuss in the global platforms, even as we talk about these SDGs and the global biodiversity framework targets, they are only going to be attained when we come to work with the communities on the ground, working together with women and working together with the indigenous people and local communities. Thank you very much for listening to us today.